Hello, I would love to welcome Katrina today from Samsung. Katrina, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you, Shanzi. I'm very excited to be here.
Really appreciate you taking the time, especially as you know, one of our recent grads from UTM. It's really exciting to see someone kind of coming back to campus. Welcome back.
Thank you so much. I'm very happy to be here.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And so today I'm hoping you can give some advice to a lot of students that are still in the shoes that you were once in. And so my first question for you would be, what do you value the most in your initial interactions with students and recent graduates at job fairs?
I would say their enthusiasm, their passion, coming really prepared to the job fair. That's also super important. So having your resume prepared, dressing professionally, I think all of that contributes to a great overall first impression. And being able to ask good questions and showing that you've demonstrated your research and you really value the company and what we stand for.
Yeah, that's super important. Thank you so much. And I think that one thing that UTM students have in abundance is that passion and that enthusiasm. So definitely an important point. And, as you said, really important to dress nicely as well. Maybe it doesn't need to be a full suit, but it does need to be, presentable.
Don't wear your sweats.
No sweats, for sure. Awesome. Thank you so much. And what would you say in terms of your experience being at these fairs? How important is a student's elevator pitch to you? And if it is, could you share one that was memorable?
I would say one thing that makes a student really memorable is when they bring their portfolio and they can show their actual experience in person. That is so amazing to see when students can bring in their designs, whether we're recruiting for a graphic design position or any sort of computer programs that they've developed. It's so great to see when students can demonstrate a real impact that they've had. I would say that makes a really memorable elevator pitch.
Yeah, for sure. I can see why someone would stand out doing that because it's definitely different from your typical resume. So for those of you that have portfolios and can create portfolios,
please
great point there. Awesome. And speaking about standing out, other than, I guess, bringing in their portfolios, how can students stand out and become memorable to you, especially at a high volume event like the fair?
A lot of times I get a question, so what jobs do you guys have? And the thing is, the student can definitely beforehand prepare and check out the job sites and see what jobs we have. And even if you're looking more generally, what kind of jobs do you recruit for? Doing some research about the company to know what kind of businesses we're in is a great way to stand out and show that you've done your research, you're really interested in the company. I think that's one way to stand out. The next is just showing your passion, showing you've done school, you're really interested in something you're learning about. Show that. Show what makes you unique.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think, and you make an important point that a lot of students are unique. It's just a matter of being able to show that and demonstrate that. And one of the ways, as you said, you do that is by being prepared. So definitely important to do their research. And in terms of, I guess, the next steps after this fair, does your team use any kind of technology in your recruiting process, such as applicant tracking systems or LinkedIn Recruiter? And if so, what would you say are some ways a student can stand out in those platforms?
So we do use an online system to manage our applicants, but we do not use any AI tools to screen resumes. And the reason for that is we really value somebody taking the time to look over a resume, because technology can miss a lot. And so you really want to make sure we're giving individual attention to each student and all their resumes. So no, we don't use technology in that sense because we want to see the resume ourselves.
I think that probably makes your team at Samsung kind of unique because a lot of big companies are using it now. And so, and how would a student stand out using their resume?
Stand out, I think making it clean, easily readable. You only get, I've heard statistics where some recruiters are only spending 6 seconds on resumes, not ours, but in general, you are limited to a very short amount of time of attention. So you want to make sure the top part of your resume has the most important information. That's my advice.
I think that's super important advice because I've definitely heard the same stats. So making it readable and quick to kind of get the main points across. And speaking of some of that advice that you were giving to students, what advice would you give to those of them that are trying to break into the industry that Samsung is in?
I would say do coffee chats, as many coffee chats as you possibly can, because first of all, you might not know that the industry you're in is one that you actually want to be in. So talking to people within the industry is so important to get a realistic understanding of what it's like.
Yeah.
So that's my first advice, is do as many coffee chats and network as much as you can. Within your school, within your community, anybody you can connect with, I suggest connecting with them. Yeah.
And I think I'm hearing that a lot throughout a lot of your answers, you know, that human touch, you can't replace it, get in front of people.
Yeah.
I think those are some very important points, especially in your early job search when you might not have all of the things on your resume that someone else with more experience would.
Yeah.
And speaking of, I guess, someone with more experience, a lot of our students are kind of just starting out once they graduate into the job market. And so what advice would you, as someone who has recently been in the shoes of a UTM student, give to someone that is feeling discouraged in their job search?
The recruitment market out there is tough. I understand that, and a lot of students are having trouble finding jobs, and that's, unfortunate. So what I would say is invest in yourself as much as you can. Invest in your education, get certifications that you can, show that you can stand out in whatever way possible. Whether it's, maybe learning French, maybe, pursuing a certification within your field. Develop yourself and, look at where you can professionally grow in the meantime when you're not able to find a position. Yeah.
I actually really love that phrase, invest in yourself, because not only professionally, there are so many different facets of your life that you can kind of bring that together, and that idea of just, doing what's best for you and kind of propelling yourself in that forward direction, which I think is super important, not just for students, for everyone.
Yeah.
So awesome. I think that was it for all of my questions today, Katrina. Thank you so much for taking the time to be here.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, awesome.